This is Amy Highnote. I'm here from VRM Intel, and we're about to get started. You have the ability to chat with us using the chat box on the right side of the screen. So any questions that you have during the webinar, the Blue Tent team will be there and watching those to answer those. Also, if you're having any problems with audio or visual, you can type in there, and we'll see what we can do to resolve it. I'm really excited to be here with Peter Scott and the Blue Tent team. Hopefully, you can see them right now on your video. Peter is the founder and the founder and the president of Blue Tent Internet Marketing, and Peter is a true expert in website design and internet marketing, and I couldn't be more excited that you're here sharing your time with us. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. I guess we'll take it on, and I think to be clear, I'm definitely not the expert. You guys can see in the background here, Blue Tent is made up of 50 professionals that all chase this whole deal. Like, why won't users book with us? And so with that, I wanted to just introduce a few of my colleagues here that have joined us to contribute to this webinar, which is a pretty cool start. And Amy, thanks for getting this going. And to Amy's point, please, we want this to be interactive. So if you have questions and comments or thoughts, please fire them up. And as long as Dennis from Hatteras Island doesn't give us too big of a problem, we'll read what's going on. So Julie, you want to introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about what you do here?
Sure. So I'm Julia Whipple. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Blue Tent, and I primarily focus on Blue Tent's brand strategy and help facilitate, our webinars and events and our strategy in the industry. So I've been with Blue Tent now for about 4 years, and I started out on the client-facing side and still try to stay involved in the client on the client side. So I think that's pretty much it.
And you've got a wizard between your computer and this computer. You got like monitoring going on and all the kind of fun stuff. So Julia does keep us all in line. And Elisa, you want to introduce yourself?
My name's Elisa Holmes. I've been doing this for about 13 years now, and a member of the Blue Tent team for about 2. They basically brought me on to keep this guy in line here. It's tough job, but I seem to be doing okay. Right now, I am the Director of Client Solutions at Blue Tent, and when you come in and you are a partner of ours, I will be working with you directly to help you make the proper moves on your site and guide you through the Blue Tent ecosystem.
Yeah, it's thick. There's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Meredith, you want to introduce yourself quickly?
I'm Meredith Marshall, and I started 3 years ago doing email marketing with Blue Tent, and then I kind of made an internal shift to marketing coordinator, so I work on Julia's team, and kind of everything she listed is what I help with.
Terrific. Well, we're excited to talk about this subject because this is something that we all face often, so we're going to shift, I believe, into a slideshow here. And we are going to talk quite a bit about why users stay and why users bounce. We've paid money we've been at the top of Google for SEO. We've got our email marketing program that's second to none. We're our Facebook. Everybody's coming to our website, so it's happy days, right? And so we're going to spend some time talking today about what we can do to increase conversion rates. And it's been kind of a fun internal discussion for us, really talking about sales in vacation rentals. And actually, I should even tip my hat back to my friend Dennis Robinson at Midget Realty, who helped me really understand when I started working with him about 7 years ago about what it means to actually sell houses and to really drive rentals and drive reservations and what that means. And it really is about conversions, and it's about having the right product for the right person at the right time, and what can we do to have an ecosystem and a platform in place to drive conversions. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to give you guys at least 7 tips, maybe a few more if we're lucky, on ways to build better booking and improve your digital strategy. So we'll probably take just about 3 slides here to give you guys a little bit better understanding of who we are and what our mission is today. So Ultimately, we drive conversions by creating digital experiences that connect travelers to place. And Julie and Meredith actually just rolled out a new homepage for Blue Tent, which I think kind of encapsulates that pretty cool. This is kind of unique. You know, you got your lady who's probably jumping on the train, getting ready to go to work. Then she's at the laptop. She's first on her mobile device, then she's on her laptop, and now we've connected her with place. And so things are good. She's at the ocean. Kids are happy. That's a good day. So we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about specifically how we drive those conversions, what we can do to make that more efficient, more frictionless, right? Less friction. Less friction, more frictionless.
More frictionless.
Yes, I think that's probably fair. And so with that, we have quite a bit of experience doing this, you guys, and this has hit me probably about 12 months ago when Ned, many of you guys know Ned, who is our CTO and a partner of mine here at Blue Tent, and it's like, holy cow, we have 13,000 units on this platform. We're going to do 125 million bucks next year. And I was like, holy cow, that's a lot. Those are some significant numbers. We've got about 125 clients running on our web platform right now, doing about 15,000 units. Julia's got 150 million up here, but if we can turn the dial on a few of these conversion things, we're going to be sniffing about 175 million in direct transactions. We look at this as the single best sales component for your organization. So your web platform is the cheapest, most effective way for you to do transactions, for you to actually close deals. There's a lot to websites, from like cool fluffy like photos and videos and all kinds of other stuff as far as brand goes and helping operations. But at the end of the day, your job as a marketing manager or as a web manager or probably as a sales revenue manager is to do what? Book reservations, and book that in a way that has the lowest cost of transaction. We're seeing higher cost of transactions whether you go to Expedia and pay 20%, you go to HomeAway and pay 5 to 10%. There's different ways to really look at that. We want your web platform to be the most effective, efficient way to do this. And Julia, talk just a little bit about kind of what our philosophy is here.
Yeah, so just like Peter said, you know, taking a look at your website as your #1 sales representative and how you can really grow your presence online. I mean, we are seeing most of our, many of our clients having 50% or greater conversions online and reservations coming through their website. So, you know, it's growing every day, and you're going to be much more sustainable and successful if you can continue to grow this number over time. So, you know, on this slide, we're really just trying to figure out ways to outlast competition because, you know, we all know that competition is fierce on the vacation rental front. Your neighbors are competitive, but we're also competing with these big OTAs. So just finding ways to really establish your online presence is what we're going to focus on throughout the discussion. So, you know, just something to think about. What happens if we just increase your online conversion rate by a small percentage? You know, it translates into huge revenue gains. So that's really what we're going to focus on.
We're hopeful too. I think, and Elise, you and I were talking about this this week, which was hilarious. I mean, so let's say you've got 10 phone reservationists, and they do $100,000 a year in sales, each of them, and your website does $1 million. So you're $2 million a year in gross sales company. If your top salesperson came to you and said, you know what, the 200 minutes on my cell phone plan isn't enough. I need 400 minutes in order to be more successful. What would you do to that person?
You'd give them the 400 minutes.
And so then we started to elevate. We're like, what do you do for your best salespeople?
You take care of them.
Whatever they want. You red carpets, palm trees, you send them whatever it takes. And so we really look at massages for, well, Elise is going to be our top salesperson this month, of course, so she's lobbying for, she's like, remember when you said red carpet, palm trees? I was thinking massage. But what I do for my best salespeople is whatever they tell me they need to do. And so we look at your web platform as your #1 sales rep. And so invest in this. It's not something that you just build. It was interesting, and Meredith, you and I were talking about, I walked into that office in Vail, and the guy says, I've got a website that's fine. And in the old days, I'd be like, well, it's not fine because this isn't right. And I said, you know what, show me how it's fine. And it booked. You could go and you could select dates, and it booked, and it was fine. But then we started talking about what's great and how do you go from fine to good to great. And I think this is kind of that path here. And we want to shift the discussion from, hey, I've got a website to I've got a transaction platform. And this is something that I'm always measuring, I'm always looking at, and what does happen if we increase our online conversion rate by just 5%. So there's some cool math you guys can do. Way smarter people than I have built some pretty cool models, so you guys should reach out to Blue Tent, and we'll give you a couple links later to talk a little bit more about that. But so ask yourself that, what would it look like if your top salesperson converted to 5% better? So we're going to give you a couple tips to think about that, and hopefully lay some context in there.
Yeah.
So, okay, fire up this.
You know, it's important to think about the evolution of technology. And 10 years ago, we would have said, you know, families just won't book houses online. They just won't. And now we're seeing families who not only book houses online, but book really expensive, incredible vacations all online without talking to a reservationist. It's pretty impressive. I think we had one client who booked an $80,000 rental. So it's important to realize how your audience is changing and how technology is evolving. This is all stuff that, you know, I'm sure you're aware of, but just a great reminder, you know, users are savvy, they have shorter attention spans, they're demanding relevant content and not necessarily more content, just personal, convenient, exclusive, trusted content, and they also are probably accessing your site from a number of different devices. So while going mobile isn't one of the tips we suggest, it's a really important, and we didn't put it in here because we hope most of you understand the importance of going mobile and how it's really, if you're not mobile yet, we're assuming you are. If you're not yet, it should be your number one tip or strategy walking out of here.
You had a couple of thoughts on that we were talking about, just kind of roundtabling.
Yeah, no, I mean, the idea here is if you're not mobile, that is absolutely 100% your first priority, and all these things that we're going to talk about today are irrelevant because the first thing they're going to do is bounce if you don't have a mobile solution and they're on their phone.
And mobile's it's not a destination, it's a journey. And we learn daily. As more video gets put onto these websites, we're going to show you guys some cool sites that have like nice video. What the hell does that look like on a tablet? What does that look like on a phone? And so how does that work? I know we've been doing some mouse recordings of like how people use our mobile versions of our sites. And frankly, they're not great. We're investing back into that. The calendars don't work great. We need to do a better job of how those interact. And it's not something like, it's like, cool, the calendars work. Well, that's fine. That goes back to, we're fine. We're online. We have a mobile presence. But to be great, you got to have awesome calendars. That's just a small example of really where this user evolution is driving conversions, because to Julia's point, we know people book transactions. We're going to do $175 million in transactions this year, by the way, on a PCI compliant booking engine, which is awesome. But your job as professional managers, and I don't know if we made that totally clear, but Blue Tent has got to be absolutely in alignment with professional property managers, because independent professional property managers are what keeps us in business, and we're what keep you in business. So we need feedback from you guys as far as what's working from a transaction level. Same way you would think of this as, how do I train my my phone reservation staff? We've got a lot of respect for what the folks at Navis do and what those guys at Track are doing with phone reservations. You guys spend a ton of money optimizing your phone reservation staff. Think of your web platform in that same avenue for sure. Yeah. And do people come to your site once and book? Yeah, one call closed?
No.
Oh, really?
And
I thought they did.
Just to jump in here, when we're done here and you go back and you run an audit based on what we're giving you, don't just do it on your laptop. Do it on an iPad. Do it on a cell phone. Do it on a laptop. Do it on a TV screen. That's where you're going to get your most value out of your audit, because, like Peter said, it's not just one look and book. It is somebody's looking on their cell phone, sending it to grandma who's looking at her on a big old desktop, to Uncle Bob who's looking at it on his cell phone. So
It's a process. It really is. And so, yeah, Julie, you want to talk just a little bit about number one, why do users stay? They like what?
Yeah, so we switched it a little to be a slightly more positive from why do users bounce to why do users stay. So, you know, this is a really important, and it's not a very attractive, topic, but it's really, really important, and it's about your performance and page speed. It's incredible, you know, how quickly users will leave your site if it's not loading on their mobile devices or even on their desktop. So 47% of users will expect a site to load in 2 seconds or less. 40% of users abandon a site that takes longer than 3 seconds. And so page speed is also a really important ranking factor on Google. And I wanted to mention that because all these tips, I actually sat down with our director of digital marketing to go through this. And this is, all of these tactics really will affect your search rankings as well, and it's just important for your overall online strategy. So when you think about your search, thinking about the user experience is going to be one of the most important ways you can optimize your search strategy. So this.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to mention this is pretty cool. Google has this page speed insights, and it's a free tool. It's you can type in Google's page speed insights. It's also a link, so when we send this out, you can go to it. But you can enter in your website, and it will rank on how you're performing. So it's a really quick tool to use just to see how you're doing.
Well, it really is that full circle ecosystem, right? Because the first call a lot of times we get is we need to be number one at Google for Hilton Head vacation rentals, right? I need to be number one for that. Well, okay, cool. Well, Google knows a lot about what's going on, and number one, what they want to see is engagement, and probably a close second is that transaction. And so they're watching that. So no matter what, if your website kind of sucks, or your web transaction platform sucks, you're going to be number one, but Google's watching that you're not checking out. So why wouldn't they put somebody that is checking out there? So that's one piece. And then the other is the page speed that ultimately a lot of this stuff, as far as having a platform in place that is that 360 view of kind of the shopping experience, it comes back and it's like, oh, cool, that helps me. That's different than like meta tags and keywords and all the kind of fun stuff that you'll do for your search rankings. It circles back and tells Google that this is a darn good site and it's very relevant for this specific keyword. So page speed and checkout commerce is very important aspects.
So we have this pretty cool case study that we did for a client. Their conversion rates weren't where we would have liked to see them, so we worked with them on their performance and page speed, and it's really in the back end that you have to do some code updates, and there's a lot that goes on. It's a little out of my pay grade, but ultimately what happened was they saw an increased conversion rate of 37%, transactions went up 33%, and revenue went up 32%. And so that's just with focusing on page speed and really refining how quickly that their website was loading.
Cool.
So pretty neat. So then we get into another tip. Why do users stay? Inspiring content. This is such an important topic right now because when you are competing with OTAs, your content is more important than ever. Users are, we're in this experiential tourism market where travelers really want authentic experiences, and that's going to set your site aside from, it's really going to make it stand out from all the OTAs that they're looking at, maybe from the other competitors in your region. Focusing on your content is really going to help you. Not to mention it's going to help your search strategy in the long run, and so it's really a really important tactic to be aware of. Again, just some stats. Travelers are 83% more likely to reach out with 20 plus photos. 40% of users abandon a site that takes 3 seconds long to load. 20% of users will read while 80% will watch. So focusing on video and photography is going to really help.
We're going to show a couple of examples of specifics here as far as getting creative. This is something that Airbnb is never going to be able to do. VRBO is not going to be able to do this stuff. And so this goes back to realistically, what are ways for you to build engagement across your website? How can you make this fast and engaging so when somebody does come here, they get it. They get what you're doing, they get your uniqueness, and they understand that you're a professional organization that's going to help them make sure that they have the correct vacation partner, because it's what I call don't make the wife mad issue, which is, you want to be here and make sure that you're not
Right.
showing up in San Diego and getting the wrong house. That would be bad.
Yeah, so this is neat. This is a recent site launch, and they decided to put up, a video on their homepage, and it just makes you really feel their story. It makes, they come across as these incredible brand storytellers. You envision yourself in this family's shoes, planning their vacation. So it's a really, really
like
nice.
The old timer's the first one to the beach, which is cool.
Yeah.
He was the winner there.
I think maybe with the Google Hangout going at the same time, it's kind of slow on this, but they put videos throughout the site, which is really neat. So if you go to Vacation Rentals, you can see, the pool floating in the breeze. It's just really neat.
Nothing gets people to hit buy now more than a palm tree moving.
But something I want to point out here, it goes back to the first thing we talked about. And remember, this is a dance, and you've got to do it right. And you do not want to sacrifice usability for aesthetics.
Yep, it's a balance, isn't it? It can
Right.
be a trade-off.
So
absolutely.
those pictures are beautiful, but we did special things to those pictures and those videos to make sure that they were optimized for speed.
Right. So just to some, in terms of inspiring content, just get creative, tell your story, use compelling photography and videography like we just saw. Speak in a voice that's true to your brand. I think that this is really important. If you're a family-focused company, you might want to avoid things like luxury or, just understanding your brand and where you can pull in certain keywords that will really emotionally connect with your users. That's going to be important. And then highlight your selling points early and clearly. So too often we see people not have clear value propositions on their site, and it's really important to identify yourself as soon as users land on your website. So this is
this is cool, and actually there's some pretty awesome options for this. I know our friends at True Place do a very good job of developing content to get you to stick around. Mm-hmm. This is a Matterport piece, which is some 3D modeling that we're doing a little bit more of locally here. Just developing more content for getting people to stick around and kind of really play in the house that they're about to drop $1,000 to $10,000 for a week. Typically, most of the people on this call are in that realm. They're going to spend some time here. They're going to make sure that Aunt Edna's room is pretty far away from my room, and the kids are going to have their spot so that they're pretty far away from my room. And you guys get the idea that this is inspiring content to really help people stick around here. And these are all pretty simple things for you to be continually adding to your sites. The big guys are doing this. You see what Airbnb is doing. They're starting to add some of this type of stuff to their checkout pages and to their property detail pages. So these are just a few things for you to be thinking about as far as how to develop stronger content to build that brand story. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make our best salesperson better. And this is tools that give our best salesperson the opportunity to close the deal.
They're interacting with the users. The experience becomes
invaluable.
Completely interactive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's personality too.
So let's go to the next slide. We're going to talk more about really great sales work.
Yeah. So this is really talking about the search experience on your website, and we've all been there when we're booking trips where you just can't seem to find what you're looking for, or you are able to select dates and then you get to the next page and there's no availability. So really refining the search experience so that there is always an answer. So you can provide guests, flexible date options so they could travel. Maybe they just put Saturday and Saturday in because that's what you had, but maybe they could come out Friday to Friday, or just a day, so that you have more availability and more lodging options. So Being flexible, and then also providing alternatives for certain selections. So maybe your 2 bedrooms are gone, but maybe there's a 3 bedroom that's within their price point, or a great option if they can't find exactly what they're looking for. Again, you might have a 1 bedroom with a pull-out couch and they're looking for a 2 bedroom, or so, different scenarios like that, so that they always have an answer. And then also, you can also differentiate results outside the actual selection, so have featured properties on the bottom that maybe they hadn't considered in the first place anyway. So trying to refine your search process. And also, for the pro tip here, I suggest you go through the process. All too often, we get so bogged down with whatever we're doing in a day that we forget to actually look at it from a user perspective and go through the search and really see what your customers are seeing. I think that'll help a lot.
Yeah, I think of this in the context of great sales too. Like if you call your reservation staff, they're never going to say, yeah, no, they might say, yeah, you're coming over Christmas and we're sold out. But they're going to say, hey, if you come 2 days earlier, I go from having 1 result to 15 results. It gives you a little bit more flexibility to really kind of build that variation into your choices. So these are all ways to really, again, think about making your best salesperson as successful as possible. So that's an example. I think we'll have a link off to a couple of sites here. And, yeah.
So and we actually probably don't need to go off necessarily for this, but if you notice on Seabreeze, which we pulled up earlier, they just have that flexible arrival, so plus minus 3 days, and it lets you see all the results that are within that time frame. So
this one grew out of Aspen Square Hotel, Aspen, Colorado, about 5 years ago. Came to us to build one of their first booking sites. They were on First Resort software. I think they've just moved to V12. But so they were on a property management software, and during high seasons there was very little availability. And so they went to Ned and said, hey, can we build and actually Ned came to them and said, hey, let's build a flexible arrival, because I know that we can get more. And I think they actually have flexible arrival and departure. So it allows you to offer more options based on some of those busy times when you might not have.
We've also used it to allow to offer upsells. So, for example, if you have your rates, if you're doing daily rates, and you can show basically the savings. If they extend their vacation by 2 days, their rate is going to be cheaper. And hey, look at the savings you're going to have if you stay for 7 days versus 5 days. So there's a lot of fun you can have with the flexible arrival, but at the end of the day, never want 0 results.
Right. And one thing too, about, one of the first slides we talked about the evolution of users and technology, and I think that this one really highlights that very well, because you can do this with the big airlines. You can do this on all the OTAs, and technology is just getting more and more accessible and efficient. So your website can do the same. You can have that flexibility. You can provide that second layer of service, and it's important to realize that. But yeah, so. And then, why do users stay? You've heard this time and time again, but reviews and having a strong reputation are so important. It's really important to just focus on following up with your customers and acknowledging good and bad experiences. So really following up to hear what your guests are saying about you. It's going to help your conversion rates twofold. So 46% of vacation rental managers saw increased conversions with reviews. 12 reviews are really the sweet spot for a single property, and then you'll notice why, because on average guests will read 6 to 12 reviews before ever booking. So reviews are really important, and we're going to show you an example of one of our clients. This is great. I love what they did here, because in the property preview page, when you're just searching rentals, they display the reviews right there, so you can instantly see. It's a great signal for the user experience.
This is one of those things too that is kind of, you can't Google where do you put the reviews, and this is something to really kind of think about how people are interacting with your reviews. You should have your Google Analytics set up to be really kind of watching, if I send 100 people to my property preview pages, how many are reading reviews? And these are all kind of things to be thinking about as far as how are people interacting with this, because, okay, we've been hearing ever since TJ started the flip key 10 years ago, 9 years ago. We knew reviews were a big idea. And so TripAdvisor buys those guys, and now it's like, okay, good. We still know it's a big way to close deals. We're trying to give our salespeople the best way to close deals. Reviews are huge. How do you integrate them into the site? And Elise, I know you've seen probably dozens and dozens of different ways people kind of weave these into sites. There's no real kind of single answer as far as how to display them. This is one that we found quite successful.
Right, and I think if you do some research, you'll find that some studies show that users are highly more likely to click on a result that has a certain number of reviews versus something that has maybe 1 5-star review versus 4, and with an average of 4.5 reviews. So the other point I want to make here is don't be afraid of allowing a less than 5-star review on your site, because that adds authenticity to the reviews.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so why do users stay? They also have an experience where all their questions are answered without having to reach out. And I think that this is, again, where you have to really look at your audience and better understand what they need on their site when they're searching. So online chat is, an incredible opportunity to stay in front of your audience. It's a great way to utilize your resources on your team. You all have reservationists, and this is just a really great tool to be able to stay in front of your audience, so they don't have to be inconvenienced and have to pick up the phone. They can just chat right there, right on your site, and have all their questions answered. And then also using clear calls to action, so they know, they can figure out exactly what they need to be doing on a particular page, and then providing unique, local, and authentic tips and insights that they can't find anywhere else. This is so important as well. Really refining that property detail page where they can figure out how close they are in proximity to the mountain, or where they can get rentals, or if they can rent bikes for the beach, or anything like that. Being able to provide all those answers on site is really going to help you out, and it's also going to help your search strategy.
This is kind of case in point as far as, again, how do we give the tools to convert? At the end of the day, we spend so much time talking about pretty pictures. We beat our heads against the wall trying to make sure rates and availability are getting the right feed from the API. And it's like, ta-da, site's up and running, and yes, it's fine. But this is kind of that next stage, is really thinking of it in this capacity. I know we started playing with this. Backcountry.com is kind of a cool site that really waits until you're at kind of a pretty detailed purchase. My friends at Navis use a high consideration type of purchase, and that's what they would say. And this is, again, giving your sales platform, which is your website, and I hate calling it a website, but we'll call it a sales platform. And if you have a reservationist that's not on the phone all the time, maybe just when somebody goes to a property detail page, they initiate the chat, and they've got a cool photo, and it says, hey, it looks like you're at Beach Fun's house. Hey, let me know if you have any specific questions about this.
Yeah.
They can quickly close that, or no, it could be like, oh, yeah. Thank God, right in time. I was wondering, how many dogs can I bring?
Yeah.
Does the elevator really work or not? Just small questions in order to engage people and get them. We just love that buy now button. I just love it when people hit that. It's really a good day.
Yeah, and I put this example in one of our great clients out in Georgia, and I think it's a really cool example of just having that subtle touch that says, need anything, we're here. And it's great if you're looking to book a 4-bedroom house. You probably have a lot of questions, so it's just a great tool to have.
Nice.
And then this is similar to page speed, and I think it's something that's often overlooked, but talking a little bit about readability and how users can looking at the content on your website and processing it, I think it's important to this particularly, you can test a lot, and I think it's very important. So Smashing Magazine is a great design-focused blog, website company, design blog, sorry. And they suggest 16 pixels or higher is recommended for on your website. And so just things to keep in mind. When you look at your website, can you read everything clearly? Do you have white text on a black background? Those sort of questions, just ask yourself when you're looking at it. Pretty dry, but sans serif fonts are generally easier to read. So just something to keep in mind. Use words that your audience will relate to, and be quick to making your point. So the less content, the more content isn't necessarily better. And then continually test font and color size. So this is a great, another great case study, and it was a fun project to watch. But we noticed that a specific landing page for one of our clients out in South Carolina had the lowest exit and bounce rate on their whole site, and we're trying to figure it out.
No, we totally blew it. Like we relaunched the site. And,
oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
No.
I mean, it was we relaunched it and we screwed it up. And so we studied it, and yeah, keep going. This is cool.
So the hypothesis came down to the theme and calls to action were the same color, and this particular client had a demographic that was in the 55 and older group. They're a golf-focused location, so we were trying to figure out what might be causing that. So we tried changing the color and the size of the calls to action to decrease the bounce rate, and it ended up being overwhelming response. We had 4 different studies that went into it, all slightly different variations, and the final result decreased the bounce rate by 42%, decreased the exit rate by 37%, and then increased the conversion rate by 14%. So it was really amazing just how changing the color and size of calls to actions would impact their business, really.
That was something else.
It's really cool. So our final tip, and like I don't know, Peter, if you mentioned this, but this really is this could have been a 15-tip afternoon where we sat here talking with you for 2 hours. So we're going to put this into an infographic so that you have all the tips. But for the final tip, just really focusing on that checkout process to get users to confirm their booking and stay on your site and stay with you. So trying to avoid any hidden fees and being as transparent and streamlined as possible will definitely increase your conversion rates. And having a clean checkout process, this is one of my favorite examples. I think it's incredibly clean. Users get to, right off the bat, they can select travel insurance, and they see all the fees on that first page. So it's really important.
To use the words of some of my friends in the travel insurance business, sell more travel insurance, and then you'll have a lot more money to invest in your best salesperson, which is your web platform. I love giving those guys a hard time. But this is the blood, sweat, and tears. Somebody actually went, selected dates, went and found this house, and is going to check out. And really monitoring what's your exit rate here. Starting to tie in. I know we've got some cart abandonment things that start to float in here. There's different ways to really develop this. So, yeah. So this is the tough one. If you're on the phone sales, it's like boom, you got a quote. I'm on the phone with Mr. Smith. You got this house for this date. Here's your fee. Buy now, buddy. Give me your credit card. No, I'm going to think about this a little bit longer. Or what are ways that you can get this page to really engage and have somebody hit that darn buy now button. And that's a big part of what this talk is about today, is how to develop a platform for playing with this, because that's ultimately why playing with it is probably a little too loosey-goosey, but optimizing this and always tracking, testing, and refining this, because you can't go Google how to build the best checkout page for vacation rental searches. It doesn't exist. So you got to play with this a little bit. You got to have some non-negotiables, and I like what Julia says here, which is no hidden fees, clean checkout, and we desperately want somebody, once they're here, we paid for them on a PPC, we sent them emails, we've been at the top of Google, they were on Facebook, we pixelated them 50 million times, and boom, they're here. We want them to check out, and so that's a pretty darn important page, and one that actually, frankly, doesn't get as much attention as it probably should.
Yeah, it doesn't get as much attention, and I think, Pete, to your point that you can't just Google the best checkout page, and it's because every region, every client is different. All of your audiences are slightly different, and things that work for some companies might just not work for you necessarily. So that's why you really have to test and refine the process. There's certainly best practices, and we've learned a lot over the years. But for your particular business, it's a continuously process of optimizing and really focusing on how to refine that process for your audience.
Right, and there's some good ones to study. I like to study. I like to study Steve Milo with what he does with Vacation Rental Pros. I like to study how some of the big guys do it. You study Airbnb, you study VRBO. Like I said, I like what Vacation Rental Pros do. Those guys are just e-commerce focused. And many of us and many of these guys can learn from that whole process. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about the vacation rental infrastructure here and ecosystem is that we can go see what others are doing and start to kind of mold a little bit of that into our processes. Because by luck or crook or hook or however we got to the top of Google, we got somebody here. And we need them to hit that buy now button. So
right.
We'll keep rolling here.
So just to reiterate what I've said a million times, but focusing on really measuring, testing, tracking, and refining. Your website is not a just set it and forget it, hope, pray to God you're getting reservations. It's something that you really need to look at on a continuous basis. And, trust your instincts, but measure results. And I think that this is really important because, there are a lot of times when you say, my guests just don't need, travel insurance or something. And then that's a poor example. But, something that you make these, you believe something that your audience just might not necessarily be actively doing. So really measuring the results is very important.
Well, and again, for my sales team, I trust their instincts, but I measure the results.
Right.
And those are human salespeople. And
yeah.
So this is almost a lot easier. And
yeah.
So trust your instincts, but measure results. And I think no matter if you're talking about pharmaceutical sales or vacation rental sales, you're doing the same deal. You let the pros do what they do, but you measure the results and then you give them the tools to make it better.
Yeah.
And making that last point of making data-driven decisions. If we can turn your website from a 0.45% conversion rate to a 0.5% conversion rate
yeah.
at an average sale of $3,000 with 1 million site visitors, that's a pretty significant turn as far as doing business with you.
Yeah.
So those are all parts of kind of that last piece of the tip.
And one of my favorite examples of this actually is not necessarily that a client, we didn't trust our instincts, but we approached it more, the project originally we approached from a development standpoint. And I think that their search box was search lodging. And for this particular client, that didn't resonate with their audience. So we simply switched to the call to action to start your adventure, and their conversion rates went up an incredible amount. So just those small tweaks can really help. So sometimes when you're building a website, you'll approach it from a development standpoint, and it's really important to take a look at from the human element too.
And if you go and you do this A/B testing, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. The A/B testing is great because you can split it up between maybe 2 or 3 different options and see which one is performing better.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure you're using the right tools and using them properly.
Yeah.
So many times we see people launch a website, maybe they get a free website from their software company or something like that, and they launch it and it's fine, it works, but they're not doing this stuff.
Right.
And they're not measured, testing, tracking, and refining this stuff. And it really comes down to putting your best sales entity in a position to be hyper successful. So we'll probably wrap up with a short little case study here.
Yep. Yeah. So thank you to Midget Realty for allowing us to feature them. But they're a really cool client to work with because, and Pete, maybe you can talk about your history with them. I mean, we've worked with them for
fuzzy.
7 years.
Yeah, no, anytime you get out the hatteras, the details get frayed for sure.
Salty.
Yeah, it gets salty out there. But no, this is a classic deal. I mean, I remember my friend Anthony being in this conference room saying, "Do not break my website. It works great. It just needs to be mobile." So we got a little chuckle out of that. And so we broke his website and rebuilt it, and fully responsive, and went through pretty much a full UX UI redo. And under Dennis Robinson's leadership, things changed pretty quickly, and a lot of that really rolled into more revenue, better conversions, just better overall business. And this was a testament to a good salesperson. Like, this was their highest converting salesperson doing half their business, and we reinvested in it. And we reinvested big. Like, it was not a small investment. But we went back to our best sales entity and doubled down. And it typically happens when you invest in great sales process and great sales people. Good things happen when you pay attention and you trust instincts, but you measure. These things happen, and so this is a pretty impressive story as far as how these guys go. And tip of the hat to Amy and her team for recognizing, really a move from good to great.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately where many vacation rental managers are. It's fine. They have a website, it books. But how do you move to great? And right. I think Midget paints a pretty nice example there, and something we're pretty happy to be part of. So this is kind of wrapping up. This is the platform. So as you're looking to enhance and measure and track and put the best sales, the best chance, give me a chance, baby, of closing a deal. ResFusion is the choice. It currently has about 125 customers. We'll be up to about 150 probably by the end of this year. And so you're buying into an ecosystem of independent professional managers that are fiercely independent, which we love, and really they want to reinvest in their best sales entity. And this really takes what is okay and turns it into greatness. And if you get a chance to go check it out, or have an opportunity to work with Sam Campisi or Joe Joyce from our team, I would take it. It's absolutely worth looking at the Fusion platform and how this can help you implement many of the tips that we outlined today, because hopefully many of you that are on this call get the idea that we are very passionate about driving frictionless, low-cost, direct transactions through to your business. And we think that this platform has proven itself to be a fantastic choice. So,
and one thing to keep in mind too with ResFusion, but aside from the travel platform, you have a team behind you that's doing the marketing and doing, like, really focusing on refining your online experience. So outside of our awesome development team that's pulled together, that built ResFusion, we have probably 40 individuals who are taking a look from a strategic standpoint.
I mean, it was classic. One of our good software partners, we just had a guy in here from Steamboat. He has one of their websites, and it was, hey, here's the phone number of a guy that can help you. And so he freaked out, obviously, and he called us, and he's in here looking at options as far as, okay, cool, I got the website, and it's fine, it's a start. But he's going to be moving to Fusion. He's going to be really, he gets it. That it's not like you just launch it and, yeah, it works. It's not that type of a deal.
Yeah, the adventure's not over after launch.
Not even with our sites. I mean,
just to throw in something, when you're looking at these things and you're looking at Blue 10, I just want to give a shout out to a world-class, fantastic support team that we have here. So don't ever forget that is really important. When you're thinking about your best salesperson, they need support.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's why I have to go have coffee in the sales lounge every morning.
So quickly they forget.
Yeah, so quickly they forget. So yeah, give it to them, and so we'll shift to that last slide. Did we have Oh, yeah, cool.
We just have our
There's Sammy up in the corner.
our team up, a couple of our team members up here, but honestly, I think that's pretty much it, unless there are questions or anything.
Yeah. No, Amy, do you want to jump back in? You want to exit out of here, and we'll wave to everybody goodbye?
Oh, yeah.
I was just looking at some of the questions that are in the chat box right now, and one of them is really about integration and the kind of integration that you have with property management systems, but also with listing sites.
Yep. And that's an interesting one, Amy. It's one that keeps me up at night, frankly. The integration with property management software, we're integrated with probably, and I saw the list of people come in, probably everybody that is on here could plug their data into Fusion and have the best salesperson available to them. All the HomeAway, RNS, VRM, Barefoot, Streamline, those are typically the ones that if they have an open API, most of them we've integrated with and built into Fusion. I think we're at about 10 APIs right now. So that is one piece. The distribution side, we're not in that game right now. It's an interesting play. It's one that we are talking about, having the Fusion smartly distribute. There are some great players out there, some people we do a lot of business with, whether it's BookingPal, LeisureLink, Red Awning. Those are some of the guys that are just focused on that space right now. But our main mission, Amy, and that really keeps us going is to have that direct, low-cost channel for conversions and the testing, and we want to be your best salesperson. That's really where we're positioning ourselves to be on your team.
Yeah, we don't want them to call them. We want them to call us.
Yeah, I do think that most of the people on this call, their property management system does integrate with most of these platforms. HomeAway, in particular, is the one that she asked about, and the question, I think, if this is the right person, I'm thinking it is, that her property management system connects directly to the HomeAway distribution platform. But that was a question that I have. I'm writing an article for the next magazine about SEO in terms of how it's affected HomeAway in boosting VRBO and Airbnb. As people are pushing their descriptions out from their property management systems to not only ResFusion but also to HomeAway, do you guys have any recommendations for the kind of descriptions they should have on their own website versus on the distribution platforms?
That one's a little, I'd have to defer to our search team there, Amy. It seems like the answers for that do change often, whether you want to rewrite or, I mean, really it's a question of if it's on my website and it's on HomeAway, VRBO, Airbnb, does it need to be unique and different? And does that affect your search ranking? I've been hearing different tea leaves as far as I'm concerned. I would probably have to defer that specific question to Bryn and her team. I don't know if there's a black and white.
Really, I don't know if there is, but we do give our clients the option on the ResFusion platform to provide descriptions for their properties that aren't coming through the API, which would be the same description that would be going out to your distribution. And maybe you want to throw something in there with a local flavor that is specific, like your reservations. This is Tom's favorite reservation or favorite property because it's right next to Bob's Pizza Spot, which is his favorite pizza spot. I don't know, anything creative, local. But really it would probably be destination to destination, but there are options out there to provide a solution.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to mention that I've actually spoken with Bryn about this in the past, and as the authority, the owner of that content, Google can actually recognize, I'm fairly certain that it's coming from your business out to the OTAs.
Yep.
So it shouldn't hinder your search rankings. And a lot of times it's a little overwhelming to try to have different messaging on every platform. So taking a look at how it's organized and trying to find ways to set your organization a little different. So maybe you just display things a little bit different, that might help really set yourself apart. And then also from the local side of things, if you can have information that's applicable to lots of properties and not necessarily specific to one property, that would help a lot too.
And that's where another thing like the True Place tours and the Matterport tours,
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, really, that's your description
Right.
right there. People don't want to read, they want to do.
Right.
They want to see.
But if you are going to ResFest this year, find Jim Levitt from Cayman Islands. The guy's awesome. He's a warrior for
I'm sorry, Jim.
distribution, and he's frankly against it. And so what he's doing is he doesn't give as good a descriptions to VRBO, HomeAway, or Airbnb because he definitely feels like that they're taking some of his thunder away. So it really is a I don't know if there's any black and white on that. And like most things with SEO, Amy, it's a little bit gray. But it goes back to, I think, what Elisa said, which is, let's have awesome photos and images and floor plans and virtual tours and 3D models. And to Julia's point is, Google's pretty good at figuring out where the authoritative voice is and where the home is. And so that's, in Google we trust a bit. Any other questions we got?
We actually had a follow-up question,
cool.
And I guess the key question is syncing calendars, which
we do have a solution, an iCal solution. You're asking me to talk about my pay grade to tell you how it works exactly.
Yay!
Where are you? But that it comes into play when you're trying to get to a distribution channel that you're not directly hooked into from your software. And there are solutions for that, and we have implemented that, and we do have capabilities there.
Okay.
Yeah, so the iCal feed. Yeah, Ned built that. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. On the from an e-commerce perspective, we've seen a lot on, I guess, Booking.com and on Vacation Rental Pros doing this, how many people are looking at a property and things like that. Have you seen some of those live interactive messaging on the websites, or if so, is it working or is it misleading?
Yes. So it's working really, really well. Urgency marketing is an incredible tool, and I should have had it in one of the 7 tips.
Well, it's number 8 tip.
But it's really amazing. Users want to know how much availability you have. It's not intrusive. It's not scammy. It actually feels really authentic and like you're in high demand, and they need to motivate. So we've seen it a couple different ways. We've seen percentage of properties available for the given time period. You might have 10% available over 4th of July. That's great. It's kind of similar to when you're booking on Orbitz and it says there are only 2 seats left. And I think there's another option for
number of people viewed this property.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to do it. So one is what's going to drive conversions and ultimately urgency marketing. The other next piece that is continuing to evolve is how do you design it? What does the UX UI look like for that? And is it just a bunch of words across the top that say this percentage of units is remaining, this many people have seen this property in the last 24 hours? I know that our director of digital design, Maria, is playing with different ways to kind of weave that into the brand story. I've been a big advocate for spinning balls of fire going across the screen, but nobody seems to listen to me.
Well, then there's also one of my favorite pieces is the alternative stay.
Yeah.
So give your users alternatives. All of your properties are booked on 4th of July week. That have pools and are oceanfront. So, say, hey, you want to come 4th of July week? Well, we're all booked up here, but we have a house that is oceanfront. It just doesn't have a pool. Or we have a group of houses that have really great pools, and they're on the Sound. They're right on the water on the Sound. So give them alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cool format, too. I like how the questions come up the side. Julie is actually answering them while she's doing a presentation. I mean, that's why she's as awesome as she is.
It's the little things.
Yeah, it's the little things. I can barely type and do anything.
Yeah,
So.
real quick, I'm going to send you all a link that one of our search search experts put together a white paper called The Case for Great Content. And feel free to check it out. I think it's, and Amy, actually, I think you published this as well. It's a great article about how to just really refine your content and improve your search strategy. So I'll chat that over. But
the last piece is we'd love to invite, we're obviously very passionate about selling a lot of houses and condos online. So we invite anybody to come out to beautiful Colorado. We're about to have the leaves turn in here in September. Or if you're a snowboarder, skier type person, come out this winter and let's talk conversion rates. Let's talk platform. Let's talk how to build that gateway into the most efficient, cheapest, most repeatable way to drive transactions, and that's really your web platform. And let's study that.
We actually have one final question, and I think it's a really good one. In terms of A/B testing, does Blue Tent provide this without relying on the PM to approve testing? And the answer is yes. So our search team, that's a big focus for our digital marketing team, is focusing on A/B testing, and that's where a lot of their time will go, depending on your business objectives and needs. But they'll really focus on refining that experience and testing where they can.
Well, let's talk about it too. Okay, so you come and you say, hey, I want to do 1,000 transactions next year. Mm-hmm. And so you're off. You got to go recruit new owners. You got to deal with guests. You're dealing with housekeeping. You got to recruit new owners. You're dealing with guests. You're dealing with check-in. Our whole team of digital. You've seen them kind of walk by. There's Ryan. Is their whole process is to drive transactions. And so JD, our whole thing is okay. Let's run a couple of tests. Well, maybe we'll shoot you a couple of ideas as far as, hey, what if we displayed it this way or that way? Let's run an A/B test for 30 days. Let's throw some traffic through the thing, and let's go from there.
So hopefully that answers
after
everything.
Lunch, it's getting busy around here. It's about time. Everybody's getting it done. So it's fun. But,
nobody brought us anything.
I know, food. So yeah, we better go get some food. And
that would be a really cool follow-up that we could do is what to test. If your site's over a year old, what should we be testing? To see what's working.
I think that's a great idea. We'd love to do that.
Okay. So. Well, Amy, thank you again. What a fun topic, and we're appreciative to be part of your team. Thank you.
Yeah. Really quickly, these guys are going to be at the VRM Intel live events. One's in Wilmington, North Carolina, on October 26th, and the other one is in Sandestin on November 30th. So JD, you better be at that one. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the upcoming conferences. Thank you so much for doing this. This was really good for us.
Yeah, I'll be in Destin. I'll be at the Destin one. Lise may be at the Wilmington one. We're drawing straws for that right now. But
and then we'll be at ResFest and VRMA too. So
yeah, come check us out.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Amy.
I appreciate it. I'll send you the video.
Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks. Take care.